Hello everyone, today I will be talking a bit more about Parallelium's latest version. Let's talk about the camera first. So the camera actually follows the middle point between the two players and it zooms in or out based on the distance. Although it only zooms in and out to an extent, so let's check out the extent to it. So this is how far it can go. Now let's quickly finish this level and head on out to another part of the game. Let's talk about the sprite animations. Only a few specific items have animations. There's the players, the checkpoint, and the enemies, and the gate. Although the gate isn't specifically sprite sheet animation, it is an animation based on the use of particles. The particles are also used on contact or basically death animation. Let's check this out. Let's hit an enemy. You can see particles appearing, also in the respective color of the player. Now let's... oh. That was accidental. Let's try and hitting the weak point of an enemy. It also appears to use particles. Now let's head on out to a different part. Let's talk about the interaction itself. So basically, once a player hits the enemy, it will start doing its death animation phase, which is basically the particles. This takes around 3 seconds, and then you will respawn at the checkpoint position, which is starting at the starting point from the level. Otherwise it will use a checkpoint. Let's check it out. You can activate a checkpoint and then both players will appear at it. Since both players die at contact, both players also go to the same checkpoint at the same time. Now it looks like one of the players will need to go on top to be able to hit the weak points of the enemies. Let's place the orange guy on top. Now let's use the blue guy to send his speed over to the yellow guy. Now he's on top. He now eliminates the enemies. Now let's head on over. As you can see, the gate comes in 2 different styles. We have the vertical one and a horizontal one. So every object can be in a vertical position. At least the floor, gate, the death floor, and the velocity floor. But it doesn't really have a lot of use for the velocity. Oh no, the blue guy hit it again. So as you can see, it's purely random and it keeps on generating only if you die. It doesn't have to be there if you don't die. Now let's talk about a few more implementations in the game itself. We'll use the editor to showcase this. So here's a quick guide on the controls of the editor, but let's skip this. So these are all the specific elements. You have players. There's a folder called items, but there's nothing in it and it doesn't generate any items. For example, you can add a image yourself to the goals folder and you can use that as a goal. Or you can, for example, add another tree to environment and you can then use it in the game itself. Which is quite spectacular, really, since I don't think any other game allows the user to add specific images of their own and add it into their own game. Of course, you can't really send the level over to another player then, since it's only local. But it's still a lot of fun to create own levels. You can then also, of course, give the folder structure of the assets to the other player. But yeah, there's also 4 types of platform objects. So you have the floor, which you can extend and also change the direction. You also have the death floor, as you could have noticed in one of the previews, the velocity floor, and the gate, but is also particle based. Here you can check out the background, how it actually works. So you can change every single bit of the game. You can change the colors, you can use other players, you can just design your own area. So even if you have all these specific types, you can just add a lot to it and even add your own images to it and just add them in. So now let's head on to the HUD. So here you can see some parts of the HUD. This is basically the HUD UI of the editor, which is supposed to be simple enough and give you enough information. So you can also select objects and see previous selected ones. So you can see how it pretty much generates the platforms. So you can also select 2 platform objects and you can see the information. You can inverse everything of the environment, the enemies, and so on. Now let's head on to the HUD of the level select. So you have the level select. There can only be 5 levels on a row, but you can also scroll in once it goes beyond this line. There's also settings. So now we'll head on over to sound. You can make it higher if you can still hear me. Let's lower it again. We can change the menu volume, but you won't really hear it here. And the game volume, which will just change the volume of the in-game sounds. You can also change the controls of the players here. So if you, for example, want different... Say you want both players at the same time, well, that's kind of cheating, I would say. But it could give a nice challenge to create a level like that, where you have to use both players and maybe use some collision issues or something. Could be a nice way of changing it. Let's just discard these settings. So you can select a level and you can play it, and that's as far as sound and UI goes. So you can hit a background, jump, landing. The using of the gate as a slight sound. There's also the sound when you die pretty much, and if an enemy dies, there's also a slight sound, and if you respawn, you can also hear the sound. That's as far as the sounds go. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Have fun creating your own levels. I can't wait to see what you come up with.